Understand
Got it.
how
Okay.
can you defend a bit more accurate. Okay, let's start. D4, knight f6, c4, g6. King's Indian defense. What's your favorite line against King's Indian?
I play the same-ish.
Okay, I usually play h3, quite similar in nature, but of course a little bit different nuances. Bishop g7, e4, d6, and h3. Okay, uh, quite similar with Zemish idea, like bishop e3, g4, d5, but of course a lot of different nuances. In this game, my opponent immediately played e5, and this is of course immediately questions. So our opponent give us additional possibility, and first important thing why this is inaccuracy and how can we use this inaccuracy. Of course, our first idea, what if we trade queens and play without his castle possibility? Yeah, because if not, then he gets standard version. So only way how to use, obviously take. And now really first moment to think about options. And if we can try discuss advantages and disadvantages, obviously black feel very comfortable in terms of long-term strategical play, but black has problem with dynamic because his king stuck in the center, his pieces little bit inaccurately placed. Yeah, so for white, important think about only about dynamical ways. If we let him play slowly, black obviously very comfortable. Black into like c6, then replace his knight to d4, and probably with slow play, black even better already. If we let him play slow. So first important, find some dynamic and think only about active aggressive possibility. So what do you think are possible ways?
I would say maybe try to develop pieces with some type of threat or a tempo, something like that every time, some type of initiative. So the
How
immediate moves that
exactly?
come to my mind is like knight f3, bishop g5, maybe queenside castle, maybe knight d5.
Okay. Yeah, but knight f3, I think bad move. I think knight f3 is something that let him just simply develop his pieces without any problem. If you play slow move, he also can play slow moves, and this is, for example, you play knight f3, he played knight d7. And his move knight d7 more useful for him than our move knight f3. We cannot create real threat. Again, if he in time with c6, king c7, black just a little bit better forever due to our weaknesses on d4.
Hmm.
And this is why our main idea in such position play f4. Again, if you already uh, not comfortable in terms of long-term play, if your opponent already a little bit better, you not worry about some new weaknesses. You worry about time and how quickly can you create your threats.
True.
So now for us important not waste time and as quickly as possible create threats. And this is why white has two possible options. Or play f4 immediately, or play bishop g5 first and then f4. Understand?
Mhm.
Because for us now, time more important than just slow development again. If you give your opponent time, he just in very comfortable. I choose move bishop g5, c6, and now very concrete approach. Again, for me, very important not let him get this slow normal development. Obviously, I create sets take on e5, so he play h6, bishop h4, and knight d7. So again, for us important not let him play slowly. And what about possible moves now? Again, if he can escape, then black obviously better due to better structure and our d4 weaknesses. So for us, important keep fighting and find straightforward motifs.
I guess we can play like knight f3 now.
Yeah. So only one his problem right now, this pin and the pawn on e5. Yeah. So knight f3 obvious move. Just keep pressure against his weaknesses. He cannot take because e5 just win is. So this is easy. In c7. Again, for us, only move take on e5 and knight h5. And again, next very important moment because again, if he in time play like knight e5 and rook e8, he much better because our weaknesses on e5, our weaknesses on d4, he's very strong bishop on g7. So for us, again, important keep play dynamical and think about threats. So what about possible ways? Every time before you start calculation, you think about what's main problem in opponent position. So what can we recognize like problem in black position? What's wrong in his position?
The knight on h5 is misplaced out of squares.
Yeah, but his knight can easily jump to f4 and then e6 because f4 square available, not so easy to touch this knight. And if again, if you play a move like g4, you only help him improve this knight.
Well, I was trying to look for ways to kind of harass that knight, but yeah, you're right. I think after going to f4, there's not much else to be done to move it. So
Yeah. And again, if you waste your time like knight e2, he can just take on e5 and now f6 square available. He can take, if you play, I even don't know how can you create any threats because g4 not possible at all, knight f3, and if you play knight e5, bishop e5, then all squares available, f6, f4, like just much better. So I really cannot see how can you use small disadvantage of his knight on the corner. So this is not his main problem. His knight quite close to good squares and can easily return to the play. Maybe knight not best place, but his knight not really problem. So what can be his real problem? I think black has two main problems. First, lack of development. We can see that knight on d7, bishop on c8, and rook on a8 still in quite bad place. And second problem, his king. His king still cannot find safe place. And if we can create some threats against his king, maybe we can make his play still unpleasant. And my main idea, create threats before he finish his development. Because again, if I give him time, like play knight e5, bishop e6, and rook a8, for example, his king can escape and position just back. So for me, important create my threats before he escape. So I have maybe around two tempos create concrete threats against his king. So
Yeah, I mean, you could try looking at like b4 and b5, but I think that diagonal becomes kind of weak.
yeah, but you even don't create any threats. You play before b5, but what's your threat after before b5? He can even
Take
ignore,
on
but you
c6.
only okay. He can take back this pawn.
Yeah, I
Even
guess
in
it's
your
not really much of a weakness because we have one on c4 too. I was trying to make a weakness on c6, but that's not really happening because we have a pawn on
yeah,
c4.
but you only open files for his rook. For example, he can play rook ab8 next, and you only help him finish his development. So you just waste two tempo for free. And for us, important play against his weaknesses and as quickly as possible use his harmony in his queenside position.
Yeah.
Again, main factor, main problem in his position, his king. For us, important as quickly as possible create some threats against his king. Okay,
I
let's
mean,
try more ones.
we could try to you know, block that e file, I think. Maybe e6. Um,
Yeah, but I think even like bishop takes c3, and for example, just take even this time, it's not so good for us. A lot of pawn weaknesses. Again, our structure is even worse. And again, he can even take. Right now, I cannot see. Okay, you a little bit spoil his structure, but you not don't create any new threats. I think he can even try move like knight c5, also trying to play for development. He already played like bishop c3, knight e4 at some moment. Even this can be unclear. I'm not sure that this, for example, you take, he can play bishop e6. And we can see how quickly he finished his development. And obviously all out a good target for his pieces. I think now black out of real risk. So yeah, I think e6 again some waste of time and give opponent uh, additional options. So again, my main intention how it sets against his king, and only way how, how can I do this like get d6 square for my bishop. like play bishop d6 check, and then his king cannot find good squares. And only one question starts with long castle, then bishop e7, bishop d6, or start with bishop e7 and then long castle. And for us, important to understand what's the difference between these two moves. And difference, if I start with long castle first, he can play rook e8. And I cannot play bishop e7 next, and I cannot play bishop d6, and this means that after knight e5, he just in very good shape. So important for me start with bishop e7 immediately, and my idea play bishop d6 check. And if I play bishop d6, his king cannot find good squares.
Okay.
He played knight e5 and long castle. Again, I develop this tempo. I create a bishop d6 check, and his king cannot find good ways how to escape. Yeah, he cannot play like bishop e6 right now, of course, because g6 just win knight on e5. So black took on 3. Of course, intermezzo bishop d6 check. This is why I played all this stuff. And uh, why unpleasant choice for black? Because both ways looks very dangerous for him. King b6 or king d8. And again, this is about future. What do you think? Which way better for black? I think black already looks in danger position, but he still can survive with accurate play if he chooses right direction. So what do you think?
I think he should go to d8
Which, yeah, d8 right
because he can
approach.
at
Of
least hide
course,
on e8.
yes, but still, of course, it's quite risky. He can play this way, but his problem he cannot escape normal. He can play king 8, but what next?
Maybe slowly try to get out with f6 and king f7 type of thing, but
Yeah, but then g6 weaknesses. Also, I can play like c5, bishop c4 at some moment. It's quite complicated. I think white still obviously better because black still cannot solve all his problems with his king completely. He
right.
can he can fight him, but it's obviously a lot of compensation for my weaknesses. So
Right.
yeah, this is right direction. In the game, he tried king b6. He dream about like uh, again bishop e6, rook d8, and he thinks that his king can escape. This is mistake, but still really important for us to play very energetical to use this mistake. Okay, first move, obvious. His king. We can attack his king with tempo, so c5. I think obvious move, yeah, because he cannot play a6 or d5 bishop, so king a5 only move. Uh, Take on f3 and bishop e6. And now I think really important moment again, one of the most important in the game. Obviously, black has only one problem, only
I
his
think you
king.
have to, yeah, I was about to say, I think you have to play e5 and shut the bishop out so you can play rook d4.
Yeah, but after e5 he can play knight g3. And if you play rook d4, for example, he can play b5.
Wow, yeah.
And it looks quite complicated. If his king can escape, then black just back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
So e5, maybe it's possible move, but this is not clear way. I think important for us to find clear way. I remember during the game I spent a lot of time in this moment because I understand that if I cannot find right direction, I can lose all my advantages. And very important, find clear way in critical positions. Obviously, critical positions so important for us find clear idea how to continue create threats. Okay, so if I one possible ways, what can you imagine instead?
Um,
Obviously, again, all our thinking about his king and how to use his king misplaced. And if we can start think not directly, but about black possibility, we can understand what can be black main defensive idea. Black main idea just, I think, take on C3, and without double pawns, much harder for us create some threats against his king. If, for example, we play like A3, creating before checkmate threat, he can take, for example, this way and play B5. And I'm not sure that this is, again, so clear because he already played king A6, king B7, but even if not, very hard for us to create at least one threat. Yeah, because we can see okay, his king bad, but it's quite close to endgame. And in endgame, his king can be also his advantages.
yeah.
So
Go back to the original position again.
yes,
Yeah, here.
so this is why again very important start our thinking not only with our threats but also with opponents' defensive ideas.
Okay,
And black
let's try.
has only
Maybe
two.
we just play maybe just King C2.
Yeah, yeah. I played this king c2 move, and I really like this move. This is probably not only move, but uh, I think very instructive one because we just with move king c2 create straightforward threat before check. Then we can improve our rook with tempo to b1 check. And also we prevent his bishop c3 idea because we can take king c3 and then before card.
Okay, so yeah, he can play B5 though, right?
Yeah, yeah, b5 only move because if not, then of course we just can play before ourselves and then rook b1, rook b7, and obviously this is, looks like check. Yeah, for example, if he wastes more on time, we can play before check, then more and check, and obviously even this simple line like take and bishop c7 time. So this is yeah what our idea, and of course b5 his response. And now again, time very important for us, and very important not let him escape because again everything good in his position except of his king placement. So What
Oh,
do you think about? How can you continue? What? So,
um,
what do you think? Black has few defensive ideas. First, maybe bishop c4. Just try to simplify position and make his king less vulnerable. Maybe at some moment he can try to escape, but it's a little bit more difficult because after king a6 we can play a4. Yeah, but I think bishop c4 and maybe b4 at some moment his main ideas. Yeah, maybe also before right now can be his approach. Bishop c4. Okay, so
I think
again
maybe we can try maybe B3.
b3. You can try this way, but I think what's wrong with this move, you give your opponent time to.
The same threats are still there, right? You can't play King A6 still. Bishop C4
Yeah,
stopped.
but I cannot see your threat.
My threat would be maybe A4 is my threat.
Before, for example, he can, okay, he prevent your bishop c7 checkmate. He can play rook c8, for example. And now if you play a4, he can play b4. For example, a4, b4. I'm not sure about straight on c3. It's also a possibility for him, but even simple like before. And okay, it looks not so simple. His king, of course, weak, but I cannot see a lot of pieces that can threaten against his king. For example, if you try like playing knight b1, he can play bishop f8, and if he can trade dark square bishop, I cannot see a lot of problems around his king, for example. Yeah, also he can maybe ignore and think about something, I don't know, like even f5, maybe trying to create some counterplay in another flank. I cannot see a lot of threats. No. How can you create at least one threat against his king? Because, okay, you can play knight d2, knight c4, but he can just take. His king feel completely safe on a5. So I think, yeah, I think your idea not threatening against his king and for us important play more concretely. Again, very important to understand that now time work in black favor. If you give your opponent time, then he can okay, our attack with every move become weaker and weaker. So for us, important create threats before he can replace his pieces to more accurate squares. And For example, again, bishop c4 idea, b4 idea, like rook a8, he can prevent our some attacking, yes, and yeah, even bishop c3 at some moment can be a possibility for him. Like bishop c3, then king a6, and maybe he can also somehow escape. So I think again very important start calculation with most straightforward ways if you feel like position critical. This position obviously critical. His king in very bad position. We can try to use his king placement. And if I think that position dynamical and position critical, I start calculation with most threatening move, most aggressive approach. So which move looks most threatening? Two possible moves: bishop c7 check or b4 check. Every time we start with check, capture sets. And now two checks, like this and this. And of course, we can start with bishop c7, but with bishop c7, we only help him escape. He play like this way, and after e4, he can play king b7 with that. And this is problem because now he can stabilize his center, his queen side like a6, and his king escape. Black probably already better. So what about before instead? And we can understand that before much more critical. Because now if you just play king a6, we can play a4, and this is completely different story. He cannot play king b7 with tempo, and we already take on b5 and win pawn. And this looks completely unplayable, because okay, even if you take this way, now we already, even not 8 takes b5 main threat. Our main threat rook a1 first. And then we take with tempo, and obviously this is just game over. So we can see that before very threatening, and uh, only way for him how keep fighting, move king before. Again, we sacrifice pawns, so we cannot play slowly. And our most direct approach, play rook b1 check. Again, check, captures threats. Now black has unpleasant choice. We can see difference. If he return to a5, uh,
You
I think we
check,
can
bishop
just move
check, and
a5.
then
Yeah, we can
oh,
or bishop c7 or knight b5 immediately. Yeah, and both look strong. I think, yeah, knight b5 right now looks very strong because if you take, okay, look good. Yeah, now everything looks good. Maybe bishop c7 check. Maybe bishop b5 first. Rook b5 looks this, this, and I think we can find a lot of attacking moves. For example, c6 with rook b4 threat, then c7 coming. Yeah, maybe we can start with bishop c7 first, as you say, and if uh, king a6, then knight b5, and now if you take rook b5, and this is looks like game over. His king cannot escape. Maybe our next move even not like rook b8, but c6 first. Just get his last square, and then we can create like rook b6. Yeah, I think it looks very bad for him. Okay, so instead, after rook b1, he take king e3. for us, again, important create threats first. So what do you think? How can you create threats now?
Can you give me just a moment, bro?
Okay.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
Okay. So
Um, I would play. Can I just not do the same thing here also? Like knight b5 or something? And
what do you
then
think about knight b5? Yeah, what next? What's your
I think
idea?
he'll take and then I'll play some type of like, bishop b5 type of move, and then I'm threatening c6 check and all this stuff. And my other rook is ready to
Yeah,
come
but
in maybe.
you can play bishop f8. Like knight b5. If you play bishop b5, you can play bishop f8, defending his king right now. For example, like take, and bishop. If you take this way, you can play bishop b5, bishop f8, and it's still some pressure.
Hmm. Man.
Yeah, maybe we can think about new threats, but I think it's a little bit strange. Why not start with straightforward again? You can create threats right now. Why you need start with bishop b5 every time? If you start your calculation, you start with straightforward check and sets, and only then you think about some prophylactic moves. You move bishop b5 looks more like prophylactic. Move c6 much more direct immediately. And again, if you play king a4, you can just take, and this is their checkmate. And only move for him play king a2. Yeah, and this is final moment. Of course, it's obvious that we sacrifice piece, but his king very, very weak. And yeah, only
What
one
happened to the
question
knight?
how we sacrifice our knight on b5.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
Is it this is your
Yeah.
offer? Okay, c6, king a2, and now final decision. Of course, his king very weak, but still it's question how can we finish his king? How can we create threats? as quickly as possible.
Maybe now it's time to go ahead and, well,
Again, obviously, only one problem in black position, his king. If you cannot use his king, you probably just lose. So for you, important in few moves, in 1, 2 moves, create checkmating threats. If not, he can play like rook c8, and probably he just win. Even if you play c7, he can sacrifice, then play rook c8, take, and yeah, without our threats against his king, you probably just lose. So important for us, create our threats in 1, 2 moves. Just as quickly as possible, find checkmating threats. So what do you think? How can you create checkmating nets?
I mean, maybe you can try. Why don't we play bishop b5 here? If knight g3, then rook b4 is there, maybe.
Yeah, but I not quite understand what's your threat after bishop b5.
Rook b4.
Maybe,
Any
okay,
threats.
maybe.
Maybe I'll even play e5 next.
Okay, so your first intention play bishop b5.
Maybe you'll play. Mm,
Maybe even
yeah.
a5.
Mm. And if I play e5,
What's your threat? Rook b2,
yeah.
bishop f5.
Oh my gosh, I missed that. Hold on.
Yeah, let's continue one more back, and
Hold
let's
on.
think.
Go back. Go
Look,
back to that position again. I mean, is it that bad after bishop f5 though?
I think maybe this is also winning, but we can find much more simple way.
I could also play. Okay, so after e5, bishop f5, bishop d3 takes. I still have a lot of the same threats, similar threats at least.
Maybe, but I'm not completely sure that you're in time. Maybe a rook c8 possible. Black can give some material back. Try. Yeah, I'm not sure because it
No,
looks quite difficult.
he can.
Yeah, that's yeah. Maybe we can play this check. Yeah, yeah, and then checkmate. Okay, it's simple. So rook c8 not possible, but check. I'm not sure. Knight f4, queen c2. Yeah, maybe somehow, but it's not instructive. Maybe this is also winning, but if you look at this position, you can understand that this looks completely winning, and it looks like maybe you can calculate until then. But if you look at this position, you can see that our bishop strong, our rook strong, but our second rook cannot help you right now. And as usual, our main rook use as much
So you
pieces
played
as possible.
rook
Yeah, so
h2.
why not? Because rook h2 create a huge threat. King c1 checkmate.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, but it's again most constructive way. If you start your attack, you try use all your pieces, and rook h2 just bring more one piece into attack, and you create a huge threat with simple moves and not let your opponent a lot of additional options. Because after, yeah, I agree, bishop b5 maybe also okay, but bishop b5 not bring more one piece into attack right now. Rook h2 just bring more one piece into attack, and you attack his lonely king with four pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just cannot stop my attack. He played before. Bishop b4, bishop e5. King c1 check. Okay, we can play something else, but this is again more straightforward. Bishop h2, rook b2, and just take. And now again, bishop c3 just checkmate, and he cannot escape his king in the corner. Yeah, just like bait, check. We can repeat this way, and again, rook h2 just checkmate now. So he just resigned. Okay, so what was important in this game?
Definitely keeping the initiative and keeping the attack on the king and
Yes,
not giving him one moment to breathe.
yeah,
But, you know, like maybe a master, strong master, AIM, GM will find all these accurate moves. But someone at my level will get that position and then make one inaccurate move and boom, I'm in a worse position.
yeah, yes. And this is why very important to understand. in which moment you need to play actively and in which moment you can play slow. And in this game, type of position can say that you cannot play slow because if you play slow, you just little bit worse. And
Hmm.
fourth, very important, if you understand that for long term you win, but you have advantages in dynamical ways, you cannot play just normally. You need just think about such way like in the game, just step by step, create new and new sets. And I not every time like such type of play, but if it's necessary, then okay, it's necessary. And yeah, of course, few important moments like bishop e7, bishop d6 check. Again, very important fix, really recognize really important moment in the game and recognize really important problem in your opponent position. Now we can see that his king only his problem, and this is why bishop e7, bishop d6 only move how to keep fighting, provide for some advantage. If not, again, you just yours. Same way, I think like king c2 move very really instructive. Yeah, in this moment. Like, okay, we can play differently, but black main defensive idea play bishop c3 and spoil our structure, and then a little bit harder for us create threats.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course this one for it. Like our opponent feel uh, went, but he has few ideas how to protect his position. And for us, important again, not let him find his defensive ways. Okay, do you have any questions about this game?
No, it was good, man.
Okay,
Solid.
maybe let's play one blitz game. Not so many time. Maybe we can some small practice. 1 second, I'll create challenge. Uh, I s- 1 sec. I sent you challenge in chat. In chat.
Okay.
Can you see? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's really not really, of course.
Well, I got into some trouble last time with D5 and B5 and all this stuff, so I don't know.
Yeah, but E3 not challenging at all. You just let me get a good version of all normal openings. Okay, let's try.
Oh,
Yeah, usually in isolated pawn structure, bishop when g7 quite good for black. He cannot spoil his structure with the six. Bishop on g7 quite active is going to play against d4, and usually this is already slightly preferable for black.
right. Oh no.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, but your position already at present.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, yeah, of course. Yeah, opening choice is not the best. Obviously, uh, after in this line, it's very easy play for black, and usually it's very comfortable greenfield type of play. And also, I
I
can
played
see,
d5 before in these positions, but I haven't really liked those positions. I don't know why.
yeah,
I
but
just I
only
don't know how to play against it.
only alternative for white play knight f3 if you dislike g5.
Can you flip the board?
Just I share my screen.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Can you flip it? Flip the board so I can see it from my
Oh,
side.
okay. Yeah, I think yeah.
Yeah, I should have played knight f3, honestly. That's what I meant to play. I don't know why I played e3.
Yeah, knight f3 normal way. At least you can develop pieces normally, and after take, you can just
Right.
normal like this
Yes, we
normal.
could
Yeah,
even
just
have
like
like a, what is
yeah.
this called? Sicilian,
Uh, it's English open. Like usually we get this after c4, c5. Just
you
like
can transpose into Sicilian, I think. If I play e4,
yeah,
you
but
can play d6.
usually this is this type. So, this,
Right. Yeah, I know it can come out of the English too. Yeah. Symmetric
yeah,
variation.
so yeah. In our version, again,
Moroxy
e3
bind. That's the word I was looking for. Moroxy bind.
It can transport to Mark's band if black play g6. If but black has also another options. Yeah. Also, I think one more moment quite important in like for example in this moment only your way how try to fight and I think like try to go to straightforward face. Yeah. I think about like take and take for example this way and this is like your possibility try to simplify at least. Maybe
Mm.
black has some option, but obviously you move we need to give me again time to draw this. I'm not sure what yeah, 95 obviously. Again,
You
because
could
the
also take,
best
can you take in between on c1?
this one. Yeah, but you can play 97 check.
Then you don't you have rook e8 at the end of those lines?
Yeah, okay,
Mm.
take. Sorry. So take, rook c8,
No, 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 not take.
take.
Instead,
Oh,
yeah, take the c1 rook. Black.
yeah, but 97 intervention.
King h8,
Yeah, but now you can just take.
rook e8, then.
Okay, 96. Why just 2 points up? Because I take on d5 piece
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Got it, got it. Okay.
in this moment. You take on d5 knight.
All right, right. Okay.
So this is quite forcible. Like take. Oh, sorry, take first. Yeah,
I didn't
take.
even see
And
this
I think,
actually. I would have definitely gone
yeah,
for this.
this looks like quite close to equal. Okay, black of course can take this way, take this way. Looks like equality, but this is your chance to survive. In the game, you play 22, and obviously black still keep control of position. Okay,
Yeah.
uh, I think it's enough for today. Do you have any questions?
No, man, that's it. Thank you so much. It's a good lesson.
Okay. Then see you next time.
Okay, man. Sounds
Bye.
good. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.